What's up, everybody? Welcome to Take No Offense. A couple of old friends who grew up together in Pennsylvania. Now we live on opposite sides of the country. This is our chance to get together once a week to share our thoughts on politics, news, sports, and entertainment. I'm Eric Messersmith in the Los Angeles area. Brian Johnson's in suburban Washington, D.C. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to get together. As always, not a lot has happened since the last time we met.
I know, right? We make that joke every week or almost every week, but it's so true. I don't remember news ever being like this in terms of just the amount of news we have, the way that it's covered, social media, the algorithm. It's like our brains. I do think this is a different topic for a different day, but I do think like the human brain is not wired for this. I think that's one of the reasons we struggle.
Really?
We were used to the hunter-gatherer thing, and we were used to for a long time not having electricity.
So you think AOL Instant Messenger is what
I
brought us
just
down?
think that I don't know. No, I just think there's something about like our species is pretty new, human beings in terms of our evolution, right?
I mean,
Like,
that's all relative, but sure.
yeah, relatively speaking, and I just think the pace of change and how we've had
Because
to
it's
adapt,
exponential.
right? It's exponential. For a long time, human beings lived fairly similar, rudimentary lifestyles. They slept when it was dark. They didn't really have any other options.
No,
They didn't
well,
have they didn't have a big nightlife. And then, as things have evolved, now it's like constantly bombarding us all the time. I just
see,
don't
it's
think
funny, man, but
we're
this is
built
the
for
crap that I love and would really like to delve into because that is a very interesting and fascinating thought. And it plays into how we continue to evolve with exponential technology growth
Yeah.
and information sharing.
Our brains aren't wired for it. I think that's one of the reasons we struggle. We're struggling so badly.
Who's struggling though? Are you struggling?
Everybody. No, like social, like
Who's everybody?
for instance, we talked about this before, the harms of social media, what it's doing to teenagers, to young people. There have been tests that universities have done. I just saw one the other day. I don't have it in front of me, but they tested people's cognition over the years.
Yeah.
Random groups of people for all kinds of different intellectual capabilities, attention, cognition. And what they're seeing is the scores are decreasing. And these are randomized samples of people, right? Why is that happening? Why are people getting, by some measures, dumber? We shouldn't
Idiocracy.
be. Well, we shouldn't be. We
No,
have
we
more
should be getting much
information than
smarter.
we
And
should
I
be
think
smart,
for
but
a
we're
large
not.
amount of people, that has happened.
Well, right, but I'm saying the reason we're not on average getting smarter, we're actually getting dumber, isn't because we lack information. It's
No.
because we have lost some of the ability to do the kind of mental work that we used to do. And the reason we've lost it, in my humble opinion, is because of the way that we are bombarded by the algorithms and social media and the short attention spans. So anyway, that's a different topic for a different
It
day. But I thought it
is.
was interesting.
No, it is.
Brian, let's talk about the topic du jour where you are, which is in everywhere. A government shutdown is a certainty at this point. We're recording this Tuesday evening at about 8:30 Eastern time. The government will shut down at midnight tonight. The Senate, just about an hour ago, failed to pass a continuing resolution to keep the government open. The vote was 55 to 45, but you need 60 votes in the Senate to overcome a
The
filibuster.
super majority is that
Right. So Republicans were 5 votes short. So the government appears to be shutting down. Before we get into the politics of it, what is it? What are your friends or people you know down there in DC talking about in terms of the government shut? Is this a big deal, or we've done this? We've flirted with it at brief shutdown so much, or people just kind of used to it?
It's the latter. People are looking forward to their time off. They're very excited for it, and they look forward to getting back pay for when they come back because that's
Right.
what always happens.
That's right.
So
what
they're looking forward to, like, I'm just being candid with you. The people that I know and that I talk to that are in the
Right.
government that will be shut down, that are not contractors, I'm talking about government employees, are thrilled.
Yes, because the contractors will not get paid,
That's
right?
correct.
But the employees will. Although, as you and I discussed last week, you travel in wealthy circles, so these people
I do, and you have
they
to
can afford to miss a paycheck.
they can,
Not
and
all
you
federal
also
government
have to
employees can.
remember that the people that I deal with, they're essential personnel. So even though the government is shut down, they still have to go to work.
Right, and some things will continue. TSA
Of
will
course.
continue. Although the weird thing about like a lot of the essential things will continue, Social Security checks, all those things. But the weird thing about TSA, I heard this today. I had forgotten this because it's been a while since we've had a shutdown. TSA does not get paid, but has to work.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
right.
what happened during the last shutdown is, as you can imagine, many of these people who
Yeah,
aren't
they
exactly
didn't go.
wealthy,
No,
they didn't
not at
go to
all.
work. They
Actually,
didn't go
none
to
of
work.
those people are wealthy. Let's
Right.
just cut it off there. None of them are wealthy, I assure
If
you.
you are working in TSA and you are wealthy, please correct us.
Yeah,
But we're
no, there are none
assuming.
of them.
So that could seriously cause an end to this if they just stop showing up and the airport delays get too long. But let's talk about the politics of this. What Schumer and the Democrats did not do this in March. They provided the votes to overcome the filibuster in March to keep the government funded all the way through today, the end of the
I thought
fiscal
that
year.
was smart.
I thought it was smart too, even though Schumer took a lot of
He
shit for
did,
it.
but he's Schumer, so he's fine.
And in the meantime, what has happened is Trump has become less popular, although still maintains his 40 to 45% approval, somewhere in there. Democrats have become angrier, I think, and more embittered with, I would say, a lot of good reason. And they have put so much pressure on the leadership to basically do something, force a confrontation, force some type of concession. That is what we will see if they can do over the next few days when this shutdown goes into effect at midnight tonight. What do you think about the politics of this? Is this the right move at the right time for the Democrats? Because you and I both agreed it wasn't the right time in March.
No,
Is
it wasn't
now?
in March. I think you're going to disagree with me, but I still don't think it's the right time. I think we're too far removed from midterms. I think we're too far removed from an actual election. I think it would be. It's tough because politically, like, do you gain anything from this? Maybe. I'd like to see the government continue to move personally. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I don't know how much the Democrats are really going to gain from this, more than they would already from what's transpired in terms of elections. That's my opinion.
Well, I would say I would love to disagree with you, but great minds think alike, and so do ours. I believe that this is a mistake. Not because I think it's always a mistake to force a shutdown.
Of course not. I just said that.
Right. But I think here's my issue. The main thing they are fighting for, the main ask they have, which I think is a totally legitimate ask, is to continue to fund the premiums for Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. So what happened was when Obamacare was initiated back in, I think, 2010, there were supports on the premiums for people who were lower class, middle class, and that helped them be able to afford the premiums.
Right.
And then during COVID, that was dramatically expanded.
Yeah.
Even to, I would say, kind of an absurd degree.
It was.
To the point now where you get subsidies up to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of income, right?
That's right.
Those subsidies expire at the end of this year. So when Obamacare open enrollment comes up, I believe it starts November 1st, people are going to see their premiums, and they're going to be, I think the average is roughly 4 times what they were last year. It's going to vary a lot, by person, but it's going to be unaffordable for a lot of people. So I think it is a totally legitimate ask for Democrats to say, hey, we need to do something about that. The reason I don't think you do that now is because it's only September 30th.
Yeah, that's right.
The exchanges open enrollment hasn't started yet. So some people know about this, what I'm talking about, people who follow politics, maybe some people who have plans, but a lot of people that aren't in the weeds on this stuff, even people on Obamacare who might need it, they are not even aware of this.
Right.
They will be aware of it soon. And so when they go and log in and they're shocked, right. There's going to be, so what I would do if I were the Democrats, if I were advising them, I would say, look, you have a legitimate issue here. You can use this leverage, but keep the government open now. Then it's 7 weeks. That's the continuing resolution and proposal that passed the House that the Senate voted down tonight. 7 weeks takes you to the Sunday before Thanksgiving. That would be the time. Yes. In that time, you can pound the drum about these subsidies expiring. You can hold press conferences with people who are going to lose their health coverage. You can get your friendly media, podcasters, influencers, favorable TV media, pounding that drum. And you can tell the Republicans, look, we will not vote to fund the government unless you work with us and have a deal in place to take care of these people who are going to lose their health insurance. I think that would be a fight you could win. The problem now is it's too early. It's
Exactly.
premature. And the pain of shutting
And
the
no
government.
one likes premature.
Well, that's true. That's true. Although my wife is used to it by this point. But I think but I think what you have to do is use the leverage at the maximum point of your
Of course, that's politics.
Right. And I think Democrats are letting their anger get in the way of the strategery. And that's why I think this is a mistake.
That's a great George Bush word.
It is. It's one of my favorite Bushisms. That is what I think the Democrats are allowing to happen right now. And the other thing is, and this is a point Schumer made in March when he voted to keep the government funded, is that Trump in charge of a chaotic situation is not necessarily a great thing if you're a Democrat.
No, I don't think history has proven that out. I think he's done really well under stress.
Right. Well, the thing is, government shutdowns are by definition chaotic because, as you mentioned, some workers are essential, many are not.
Most are not.
The White House gets to deem some that are and aren't. They get to make decisions. Trump has basically said, okay, I'm going to start firing people. I'm going to start cutting programs, and I'm going to use the chaos that you present me to accomplish some goals that maybe I couldn't accomplish under normal times. That was an argument Schumer made in March. I think it's just as true today as it was then. Again, I'm not saying that is reason enough, but it is a reason to consider if you're going to shut the government down. So that's what I would do if I were the Democrats. I think this is a mistake right now. I understand their anger. I understand we're not in normal times. I get all that. I understand the argument about, rescissions, where the president's pulled back money, which it's hard to negotiate funding with someone if they're then going to turn around and pull it back. Those are all totally legitimate arguments. I just think you're picking the right fight, but at the wrong time.
It's fairly standard for Democrats. That's why they haven't had a lot of success lately. Because, like, in terms of, how should I say it, the moral ground, like, okay, there's something to stand on. But timing's been an issue, certainly. Winning's been an issue, and this is no real surprise here. And
the other thing, too, is I think the anger of being out of power, of seeing all the shit Trump is doing, some of it crazy, some of it bordering on unconstitutional. Much of it crazy, some of it bordering on a potentially unconstitutional, certainly norm breaking,
bordering. I love you, man.
Authoritarian adjacent.
That's where we're at in this conversation. Things that are like basically outright fraud or criminal are considered borderline. It's the brilliance of Trump. I've said many times.
Yeah, that's true. We're in a new era, but I think I understand the inkling to say we have to fight, we have to do something, but it's important to remember that Democrats in some ways are winning. If you look at special elections this year, they're outperforming the results in 2024 last year by an average of 13 points. Parties that outperform by anywhere close to that in special elections in modern history always win the midterm. Democrats are the favorite to win the House, even with the Republican gerrymandering. They're the favorite to at least pick up seats in the Senate. They are probably
none of this is surprising,
right? And so if Trump's approval rating is down in the low 40s, things are trending your way. And if you
but
do
that's what makes it even more ill-timed.
Right, exactly. You've got some momentum at your back, even though it doesn't seem like it because you don't have power.
No, dude, I honestly don't have anything more to add. I think we're in the exact same spot on this in terms of strategery.
Yes, the strategery. You have to get this.
It's significant. It is important. I don't mean to make light of it. These things actually matter in terms of outcomes of elections.
Right, Democrats have to get smart. Like principles and ideas, and that's all fine. That's great. That's what you know.
That's how I feel about that.
But you have to win.
Right.
If you don't win,
to put your principles forward, you have to win.
You have
Otherwise,
to win.
It doesn't mean anything.
And winning is at least in part about strategy, right?
Yeah.
And being as effective as you can be, timing things right. So we'll see how it plays out. Look, Trump is still so unpopular that I think it's going to be kind of a wash on who gets blamed. I've seen a lot of early polling that shows that Republicans and Trump are blamed more, at least at this stage, than Democrats.
Well, of course,
So
because they're in power.
right. But once this drags on for a few days and people really start to feel the repercussions, national parks are closed, which is a big deal to a lot of people around the country
Yeah,
that love to go to our national parks, millions and millions of people. If they start closing,
I
as I
love a
said,
good national
TSA,
park.
national parks are great. Let me tell you. We've got some good ones in California. I'm going to Zion next year. I'm really excited about that in March. So
Nice.
looking forward to that. All right, Brian, let's talk about some other things in the news. Did you, as we know, as loyal listeners and viewers of our program know, you served in the United States Marine Corps. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome for my
You are a
service.
veteran. Pete Hegseth today did an interesting thing, the Secretary of War. He
Jesus.
called, I know, right? I don't like that. I don't like it either. That's what they're calling it.
I like
Uh,
nostalgia though, so I can get on board. It's not that big
yeah,
of a
that's
deal.
true. That's what it was called up until World War II.
It's
So
fine. I don't care what it's called. It's the same thing.
he summoned pretty much every general and admiral around the world, and they met in Quantico, Virginia today. And he and the president talked to them. Both gave speeches, and it was interesting. I saw some of this. Hegseth hit on a bunch of things. First of all, he wants physical fitness standards for everybody to apply to male physical fitness standards. So that will eliminate essentially from some combat roles, most, if not all, women. He wants grooming standards
So
to be
dumb.
really, really tightly enforced. And this was the quote that got me. He said, it all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations or really any formation and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. There were other things as well. There was an overhaul of the IG process to minimize complaints. He talked about
That's probably the
firing,
biggest thing,
instilling a
actually.
healthy fear in basic training so instructors can swear, put their hands on recruits,
Wait a
toss
minute. You're
bunks.
not allowed to swear or put your hands on people? I mean, this
That
is
well, he says you can now. Anyway,
Oh, I was gonna say I seem to recall.
what
Anyway,
did you make of this, and what do you think the generals in attendance made of this kind of spectacle today?
eye rolling, yawning. They don't give a fuck because it's two dopes talking to them. They have no idea what they're saying. They have no idea what they're doing. These are career military professionals who have been doing this their entire life, who have somehow managed to climb the ranks of something that's very hard to do. For people that think it's easy to rise to the rank of admiral or general in our armed forces, you're out of your minds. Like, it is very, very, very challenging to reach this rank. I think it is very well. I hate saying the word "very," but it's ironic that Trump is talking about physical fitness. Hegseth less so, because look, if you're an admiral or general, no one cares what you look like. You need to be a leader of men
Right.
and women.
They're not going to be on the front line.
No, no. What do you think? They're Napoleon with their sword and cannon fodder? That's not how this works. Uh, I mean, you know where I'm going with this, man. I think it's largely a joke. I think the people that were there are like they don't care. I think the thing that they're doing that's dangerous, particularly as it applies to policy, has to do with hazing and the way that people are motivated to like do well in the military. I think look, I'm just going to say this at a very high level. The way the military is structured, it made a lot of sense in like the early 1900s because you had people that weren't from much who were very poor, who were your enlisted people. And then you had your people from urban centers that were well educated, that were your military leaders. That's not how the world works anymore. I mean, we started off this show with how available information is. Whether you're enlisted or an officer, you have access to the same information. A lot of times, these people are equally as educated. The armed forces today are very dynamic. There are enlisted people who are much more intelligent and much more educated than a lot of times than the officers that they're serving under, and that's for a variety of reasons. So I think to sum this up, Trump and Hegseth are fucking idiots. I don't think they know what the hell they're doing. And I think they should leave it to the people in the military to decide what to do. That would be their wisest choice, but they won't do that because they're arrogant and they're stupid and whatever. The
Yeah.
end.
I mean, I
Sorry, that
think,
wasn't well said, but I mean, that's how I feel
well,
very strongly.
look, I watched some of Trump's speech. It was kind of bizarre. I guess the,
Bizarre. It
the
was
silver
off the chain.
the silver lining that I have in this is it could have been worse. I was actually kind of glad it was only this stuff and nothing even more crazy.
But the policy stuff matters, Eric, and that's
it
what
does.
everyone's going to
It does
miss.
matter. It does
When you
matter.
talk
And
about hazing, do you know the amount of sexual assault that I dealt with as an MP in the military? Like,
oh,
it was insane.
yeah, there have
Like,
been so many
females serving in
stories.
the military, if you are a female and you are thinking about serving in the military, like, God bless you. Because
Right.
these protections that they're talking about are incredibly important.
Right.
Because I'm not joking, dude. The chances of you being sexually assaulted as a female in the military, it is much higher than in civilian life. And
Oh,
that's for a
absolutely.
wide variety of reasons.
And it was often pushed under the rug, and there's been lots of stories about that, and they've tried to clean that up in recent years. But now Hegseth, his credit says we are not. He said racism and sexual assault, sexual harassment are not acceptable. Those will be dealt with. But when you limit the complaint process, which is kind of what
Exactly.
he's doing, no anonymous complaints, no repeat complaints. Like when you say, I don't know exactly what the policy is going to be, but that's what he said today. I mean, that could lead to the kind of situations you're talking about.
Here's what I know for sure based on my experience. These people left to their own devices will do terrible things. And I am certain of that. And this isn't conjecture. This is based off of like real world experience and things that I've seen. Like these things are extremely important in the military services. They matter a lot.
Yeah, leadership matters, and elections matter, and elections have consequences, and we are where we are.
I love the one about the physical fitness standard, particularly for combat status. Does everyone realize that is never changed? It is the same. There is one standard. When we're talking about combat infantry, there's no male and female. That's not how this shit works. Like, you have to meet a certain standard to be there.
Right. And that sounds, that's why I was a little confused when Hegseth was saying that. I mean, I would like to see what was he talking about? What standard has been lowered for women?
None. That's what I'm saying. None.
Well,
if you want to be a Navy SEAL as a female or a male, there's a standard that you need to meet. If you want to be a Marine sniper, if you want to be an elite unit, like, they don't care what sex you are. Can you do the fucking job?
Yeah.
This idea that they are just letting people through. Like there's some transgender queer Navy SEAL captain. Are you out of your mind? Like, do you understand? Do people have any concept of what needs to be done? You think that in elite military units, they're going to be like, you know what? Can't run 3 miles, but let's put them in charge because of woke standards. Dude, like, we're not talking. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a thing. I'm getting upset and I'm mad because, like, it's just insane if anyone actually thinks that.
Yeah, you were there. You have experience there. That's why I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I won't give the Trump administration credit now for one thing I did like this week was yesterday they got Netanyahu to agree publicly to Trump's 20-point peace plan in Gaza. I have to say, this plan, if it is pretty good. I read through it. The last hurdle is Hamas, as it often is. And Trump said today they have 3 or 4 days to decide if they're going to take it or not. They should. This is the best deal I think they're ever going to get. If they don't take it, I think that it's going to be, I think this will be their last chance. And this deal basically would end the war, return the hostages, allow humanitarian aid in. It would allow Gazans to stay, which I think is really important.
That is important.
It would set up a Department of Peace or a Board of Peace with Trump as the chairman, whatever. But it would have other people on like Tony Blair, and it's backed by the Arab world. There would be a security force.
That. I see most of the Arab world was on board.
There would be a
that
security
matters
force.
More than anything.
It's huge.
By the way.
There would be a security force that would come in. The Israeli army would withdraw in phases gradually. Hamas would have no role in a future government. They would have to disarm.
That I'm in favor of.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, I think this is the way. This is the way to get us out of where we are now.
I like it.
Right.
Mandalorian.
So I have to give Trump credit. Netanyahu, even on board, a little bit begrudgingly, perhaps, but I think even Netanyahu realizes at this point that the jig is up. Like, he's losing.
I know, but this has been so good for Netanyahu.
It depends. I mean, I think
Well, I
Look,
mean, he
he's
could go to
not
jail for, I don't know,
right.
bribery and other crimes.
He's
So
not popular in Israel right now. Then again, no party really is that popular. So it's hard to
no,
say how he'd do in an election. But in
he's just trying to
America,
avoid jail.
I saw a thing the other day that if you look at the numbers of who do you support in this war, asking Americans, do you support the Israelis more, the Palestinians more, or neutral? It's the numbers have changed dramatically. I mean, it is now basically a third of the people say they support Israel, a third say they're more supportive of the Palestinians, and a third either are neutral or aren't sure. That is a stunning development. When it was
It
Israel
is. That
plus
shocks
30,
me.
it was a year ago, Israel was like plus 30 or 40. It is real. So
You would actually
the
think it would be higher.
and then you saw all of a huge chunk of European countries, France, Germany, Spain, England, recognize a Palestinian state at the United Nations last week, which is a symbolic move, but still an important one. These are longtime allies of Israel. So I think this is good for everybody. I think it could potentially open the pathway to the big deal in the Middle East, which would be Saudi Arabia and Israel
I want it
normalizing
to be called,
relations.
though, the big deal. I hope that that's the official name
I think it'd
of
be
the
great.
agreement. Instead of like the Oslo Accords, we just call it the big
The
deal.
big deal, the big beautiful
The
deal.
big, beautiful deal. I like that the best.
Like
Yeah.
I obviously I'm not a fan of many Trump policies, but I also give credit where credit is due. If he can bring this home, I will be
But I
and
think
this
the Israelis
actually
would deserve a lot of credit if it does get
yes,
brought home
absolutely.
for the pressure that they have put on to make it happen. It's so nuanced, and there was not
Yes.
enough time in this podcast to go through it all. And you and I have talked about it a lot. I think Israel really just said fuck it, and it was the time to say fuck it.
I think in general that's true. Look, I think Israel has it was a righteous fight after October 7th against Hamas.
But that's what I mean. It's like
Right.
us
And
after 9/11. You want to, you know, if you want to torture some people, if you want to break international law, if you want to commit war crimes, this was the time to do it and get away with it. That's all I'm saying. And I don't mean that in a flippant way. I'm
right.
just saying that a lot of people are going to ignore a lot of things because of the morality of it. And that's why I think Israeli was smart for taking it to the brink. But I will say now, I think they've reached the brink. I think they're
Yes.
right there because when you talk about, and it's a hard word to say, when you talk about starvation and genocide and those type of things, we're talking about a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
I think they're at the edge, and this is the time to make the deal for Israel.
I agree. I agree. And look, I want to be clear. I do not support, even though I supported the war at the beginning, and I think it was a righteous fight. I don't support everything they've done and how they've
Of
conducted
course
it.
not.
But I think if the end result is Hamas is gone, the hostages are freed,
But that's
the
what I didn't
Palestinian
articulate well, and that's what I'm driving at.
yeah,
It was always going to be an ugly, ugly thing to get
yes,
here.
it didn't have to be
Always.
this ugly, but it was always going to be a
It was
degree
going to
of
be
ugly.
really
Yes.
ugly, man. There
And
was
part
no
of
other
that,
way to get here. That's my
right?
defense of Israel.
And let's be honest, a large chunk of that is Hamas
Of
because they
course,
put their civilians in harm's way.
as they
They
always have.
intentionally do that. Right. And so they deserve the lion's share of the blame here. Not to say Israel is blameless. Blameless. I want to be clear. But if this opens the path for the hostages to be freed, those poor people in Gaza to get food and medicine and relief, rebuilding the strip, having a
Dude,
government
rebuilding the strip. I mean, it might take
it's going to
50
take a long
years.
time. But having a government of Palestinians that is non-ideological, that is overseen by an international force of Arab and Muslim countries that are invested and have skin in the game, and then eventually Saudi Arabia and Israel and other nations normalizing relations. If you get to that end point, and then hopefully a change in the Israeli government down the road where it's not so
It will
right wing.
change. That will change.
So if those
Their
things
politics
happen,
aren't so different than ours. That pendulum is going to swing.
it's going to swing.
Because
That's for sure.
I think Netanyahu really is popular because of this idea that he was going to provide security to the Israeli people,
Ugh.
and I think a lot of old heads
That's gone now.
really bought into that, and I think the younger folks, and again, I mean, my contacts in this are anecdotal, but I think younger people are like, yeah, we're fine. Like we don't. I think they realize they have the upper hand. and now it's gone a bit too far. So I think, particularly with young people,
Oh, well, the
Netanyahu
people
is
are on
not that
this.
popular.
No, the people are on the streets in Jerusalem every day, thousands by the hundreds of thousands, wanting the hostages freed and a deal to end this war. So
Yeah.
hopefully that will happen. One more thing from last in the politics realm. This happened last week. You and I talked about it potentially happening. James Comey, the former FBI director, indicted by the Trump administration. This was a shit show from the beginning. You had a prosecutor that looked into this in the Eastern District of Virginia, didn't want to bring charges. He was appointed by Trump. Trump then fires him, installs his personal lawyer who's never tried a case
She's fun.
into that job. She goes and gets an indictment barely by a
Yeah.
grand jury. They needed, I think, 12 votes out of 24 grand juries. I think they got 13. No prosecutor in the office signs the indictment, which is very rare. None of them go to court.
Strange.
She's there by herself. It's only the political appointees. Clearly, I think going after a political enemy in James Comey. If you look into the charge, he testified before Congress September 30th of 2020 during COVID. So that they had to do this, indict him by today, September 30th, 2025, because the statute of limitations was
He
5
made it.
years. They made it barely. And the thing that he's accused of lying about is whether or not he knew and directed McCabe, one of his deputies, to leak information to the press.
Yeah.
There was an inspector general's report in 2018 that looked into this.
It's going to be hard.
And their conclusion was he did not know and or direct McCabe. And that McCabe, in fact, was dishonest with Comey, telling Comey that he didn't leak. So I think there's no case here, but beyond that, and this is it's not even it probably won't get to trial. If it does,
No.
I think he'll be acquitted. But that's not the issue. The issue is going out, using the power of the government to directly go after and intimidate your political opponents.
That's what
That
I
is one
think,
of the
though,
worst things government can do
It is.
in a society.
But it's what Trump thinks, maybe delusionally so, was done to him. And that's what this is really all about. When he left office and he was indicted for, being Donald Trump, which, is a crime, he didn't like that. And he won the election.
Well, he was indicted for more than that. But anyway.
No,
continue.
but you get what I'm saying. I'm saying that him being how he is a crime, like under the law.
Oh, because he engages in some borderline
No, he
criminal
commits
activity.
fraud. No, he was found guilty.
He was found guilty. That's true. In the Stormy Daniels case, 34 felony counts.
Right, 34 felony counts. But he felt like, how I love The Sopranos. And in The Sopranos, they always feel like, they're somehow under attack or under siege, even though they're committing murders and crimes. And that's Trump, right? But now that Trump is back in power, he's just, very clearly and very obviously using his position to do these type of things and fight back. I don't think anything I'm saying is profound. I don't think it's shocking. I don't think it's crazy. I think it's what's happening. And, with the way that we're structured and set up, this is how it's gonna go. Yeah. I think what Trump and the Republicans need to be very, very, very careful of is if you get Democrats in power who are willing to go in the other direction, and they're betting on that they won't, I don't know if I would make that bet. I think there was a time I would have made that bet. Yeah. But I think this envelope is being pushed so far, Eric, that, look, here's the thing. No one likes James Comey. Democrat, Republican.
Yes.
I think, generally speaking, no one likes James Comey.
The Hillary Clinton people blame him for costing her the election in 2016.
Right. That's what I mean. So maybe Comey's a good target. But if this extends to, I don't know, Adam Schiff, if this
Letitia James,
right, other people who are very clearly
John Bolton
for other reasons, then I think he's going to have a real problem. But Comey, I don't know. Do you want me to feel
people
bad?
Don't have sympathy for Comey, but it's not about Comey. It's about the role of law. And here, I just want
you and your practical.
I just want to face that argument for a second that you raised at the beginning, and I just want to point out how absurd it is. First of all, we have to remember. You may like the prosecution or not of the Stormy Daniels case. I think it's important to remember that the reason he paid Stormy Daniels is because she was going to come out with that information publicly
Right.
after the Access Hollywood tape right before the election.
You know what I remember about that, Eric, is that he had a mushroom penis. That's what I really took
Is that
away
what
from
Stormy
all
said?
that. Yeah, yeah. Remember all the memes of like the mushroom guy from Super Mario? That's what I remember. Because he described his penis.
I must have missed that. That's pretty
We
embarrassing.
know what the president's penises looks like because of Stormy Daniels. I don't think we know what any other presidential penises ever look like.
I'm not aware of that. Although Kennedy, I'm surprised we don't know.
That's shocking.
But I think,
well, it was a different time. No internet.
That's true. So Stormy Daniels' situation before an election, think about it what you want. That was a decision made by Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor in New York, not federal government. The Georgia case, trying to overturn the election there, that was
What a
made
shit
by
show
that turned into a shit show because Fani Willis very stupidly hired her ex-lover to help prosecute the case.
What a surprise.
That again, local case in Georgia.
Yeah.
Also, the fraud case of Trump, though he was found guilty of fraud. The verdict was later upheld, but the penalty was thrown out. That was Letitia James in New York.
Yes.
The federal cases, the Justice Department, those were the Jack Smith cases for trying to overturn the election and for the classified information that Trump repeatedly refused to give back and then did give some back but kept a lot more in clear violation of the law. He would have been found guilty, I think, in both of those cases overwhelmingly and easily.
Yes.
And the issue there is that Merrick Garland, because I think Garland, the attorney general then, was such a fair guy and had so much deference that he took so long. I remember reading stories about the fights they would have in the AG's office because some people were like, hey, this is pretty clear that Trump broke the law. At the very least, we need a special prosecutor. And they took so long to get there. And that is what allowed the case to have time to go to the Supreme Court to have their ruling, the president's get immunity, and then Jack Smith refiled the charges, but they ran out of time. So not only is it not true that the attorney general under Biden, Merrick Garland, and Biden himself were vindictive against Trump to get him, you actually could make the argument that they were too
well, the other way to say that is they weren't vindictive enough.
They weren't vindictive enough, right? Because Trump, I think, if you look at the cases, pretty clearly broke the law in both of those instances, and would have been found guilty, right? And so it's exactly the opposite. Not to mention that the Biden Justice Department, although they didn't do, I think probably they should have. They indicted the president's son, tried him, and convicted him. Could you imagine any scenario where Eric and Don Jr., you can't even fathom it.
No.
It's not even, you couldn't even imagine the Trump Justice Department doing that. Not to,
but the thinking of the Truth Social posts, if that happened, make me so happy.
The Biden Justice Department put Bob Menendez he's in prison. Democratic senator from New Jersey. They indicted multiple Democrats. I'm not here to say the Biden administration was perfect. I've disagreed with many things, including the pardoning of Hunter Biden. But that was the pardon power of the president. I don't like it. He has the power. The point is that the predicate of what they're saying is ludicrous on its face. But your point, which I think is a fair one, is now that they've said it over and over and over again, and now that they've indicted Comey, is it now become a vicious cycle that was initially built on a lie? But when you get to a point down the road, nobody cares how it started. No. And that's the problem with these things.
No, that's a child argument. Who started it?
Right. Nobody cares because then it's like, well, here we are. This is the new reality.
Well, that's the Middle East who started. I mean, that's where we are with that. So let's not go down that road.
And that's why it's so dangerous when you fuck around with these things. Like, again, America is not great because we have people that just are inherently better human beings than other people in the world that exist now or have existed before. It's because we have certain bedrock things.
Yeah, exactly.
The rule of law. Yeah. Right. The separation of powers.
Freedom of speech.
The freedom of speech. The vote.
That's a big
free and fair elections. Those are the things. That's the secret sauce. And when you start fucking with that stuff, and I'm not, look, people say, well, this president did this. And again, we don't have a perfect record, but Trump is fucking with them to such a degree that he is shaking them to their core. And those things, once you screw those up, you become, pick a country, right? You're on your path, on a path to that. And we don't want to go be Hungary. We don't want to be Turkey. We
No,
don't
we
want
don't
to
want
be
to be
one of
Turkey.
these.
We don't want to
We
be
don't.
Hungary.
No, we don't want to be one of these countries that has elections. Like Turkey has elections, Hungary has elections, and people vote, and they can vote for who they want. But it's not a totally liberal democracy. There's not really freedom of speech. There's not really freedom of the press. The heavy hand of government influences everything and pressures people to do things they want to do all the time. Like that is not what we want America to be. At least, well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe some people do. I think there are some people that do. I stand corrected. I think there are people who want America to be that. They are so mad about how they feel that Trump was treated.
They're so mad that Bad Bunny is doing the halftime show.
Yes,
at
let's
the
talk
Super
about
Bowl.
that. I want to talk about that for a second as we transition to sports here. What did you make of that? Bad Bunny, for those who don't know, is a rapper from Puerto Rico who does not, as far as I know, have a song in English. All his songs are in Spanish. They're great.
Yes.
Many of them are great, by the way. And he didn't want to perform in America this year because he was afraid, he said this publicly, that ICE would come to his concert and deport
Dude,
people
if
at his
ICE
concerts.
goes to the Super Bowl halftime show, that will be the greatest television ever made. Stop it. You know right now someone is talking about that. I swear to God.
That would be amazing.
How amazing would that be? The whole world is watching. ICE arrests Bad Bunny during the halftime show and deports him.
Do you think the NFL knew what they were getting into with this? Because the backlash has been swift from conservatives, as you can imagine, on social media.
I think the NFL just thinks it's how it's always going to be. Like when people complained about the all-female halftime show, which was great, by the way.
I think this is different because Trump is president and Bad Bunny is overtly political. And conservatives are all, and also apparently he's worn dresses before. I see some conservatives upset about that. Yeah,
like the Ricky Williams.
Like,
I think the NFL knew what they were getting into? Maybe, because here's the thing: the NFL is J.P. Morgan. They're too big to fail.
That's what I said last week when you and I were talking about some of these CEOs and executives, and I said, you know what? Like, if you have money and power, at a certain point, if you have the money and power to do what you want, sometimes you just have to do what you want.
That's what the NFL did.
And I hope that is what they're doing. I hope they are, because
I don't think they're making a statement by it. I think Bad Bunny, among people that are going to view the Super Bowl, is probably not a terrible choice. He's young.
No.
He's popular among young people. I think if you want to bring young people into your sport, this is probably the way to go. I think the NFL made a mistake for a lot of years having Paul McCartney and The Who. And, because I think they realized that, these aren't the people that are buying things. Like, the people that are buying things, merchandise, going to games, doing everything by and large, it's like any other business, man. It's young people. I mean, if you don't keep young people involved, you end up like Oldsmobile and Buick. Or just no one cares anymore.
I agree with everything you're saying.
Or
I think
baseball.
I think from a monetary business decision, it was a good choice.
I think so.
What I'm saying is, if the NFL didn't think it was political, then they have their head in the sand.
No,
maybe they didn't.
Political.
I'm not saying they did or didn't.
Really?
I'm saying in 2025, with Donald Trump as president, given Bad Bunny's background and what he has said, and given how we have seen the Trump administration, their supporters attack anyone they don't like and try to boycott people and organizations. Remember when Bud Light had the trans spokesperson?
I do, but this is a different thing. This is Colin Kaepernick. This is not the Bud Light commercial. It's a different thing.
And the NFL is a different beast than Bud Light.
Well, that's what I mean. The NFL is way bigger than Bud Light. As crazy as that is to think of.
It is too big.
They are way bigger. It's so popular and so it makes so much money. And here's the other thing. Their television revenue is guaranteed.
Sure.
Like, that money is guaranteed. So I don't know. I don't really know what else to say other than, I just don't think the NFL gives a shit. I think they're doing what's best for their business regardless of the political blowback.
Well, good for them, and I wish more businesses would do that.
Well, they don't all make $15 billion a year.
That's
so
true.
That's a bit of a problem.
Turning to the on-field situation, Brian, I don't know if you know this, but the Baltimore Ravens are 1-3.
I do. They're the best 1-3 team of all time.
And Lamar
when
Jackson's
they lose next week,
up.
they'll be the best 1-4 team of all time.
And the Steelers, our Pittsburgh Steelers, are 3-1, despite the haters going to Dublin and getting a big win over the Minnesota Vikings. I am thinking that we're going to win the AFC North. AFC North champions.
Well, it's not going to be the Browns, and it's not going to be the Bengals.
No.
And the Ravens are hurt. I mean, dude, if you talk about things really moving in the direction of your favorite team, I mean, Joe Burrow being out for the season, Lamar being hurt for 3 weeks, and the Ravens being 1-3, and the Cleveland Browns still being the Cleveland Browns, this could not have broke any better for you.
Right. And Baltimore's got a ton of injuries on. I think they have 6 defensive starters hurt right now. And the Steelers are like, I know they've been outgained in each of their games. And that is, that people make a big deal about that. But if you've watched them the last few weeks, the defense is getting better and better, they're getting healthier. And it's starting to be that defense that we thought it would be at the beginning of the year. And they ran the ball really well against Minnesota, something they haven't done all year. And Rodgers, he may not be what he was in his prime, but he's good enough. He is good enough to win you football games.
I told
week
you
in and week out.
Over the phone, I am falling in love with a girl that I know is going to break my heart. We all know how this ends. It ends in the playoffs with a stupid turnover. But that doesn't mean I can't enjoy the ride. Because best thing about crazy relationships in your life is that, like, you know it's going to end badly, but holy shit, that ride. It's like dating the Latina girl that is just crazy in bed, but you know she's going to stab your eyeball out with a fork. Like one day it's not going to go right, and there's going to be a fork in your eyeball. No, I'm just hypothesizing.
Right.
The point being is that that's how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. I'm just going to enjoy the ride, and I'm going to love it the entire time. And when it ends, I'm not going to be surprised.
And, I think we don't do that enough just in general in life. Like, we are so focused as human beings on the outcome.
Right.
On like the
results
outcome. And so what we say is, if the outcome is good, we're like, oh, everything was great, it was worth it. Well, maybe not. I mean, maybe some things really sucked and you just got lucky and had a good outcome. Like that, that's possible too. I always believe it's about the process. And
I'm not even joking. I tell so many jokes on the show. I really am. Though I will say my Steelers fandom needs questioned because it was like 10:30. I had went to the store, got some groceries, and my neighbor came out who was a Steeler fan, and I was like, hey, when did the Steelers play? And he's like, I've been so busy. I don't know. I missed the entire game.
Yeah, I am a much better fan than you. I'm on the West Coast, and my alarm went off Sunday morning at 6:30.
Yeah, but you and your dad, the great Bob Messersmith, used to go to Latrobe every year.
We did.
And Greg Lloyd would wear the shirt. I wasn't hired for my disposition.
My disposition, yes.
And so you guys really enjoyed that. But I have to say, I was so fired up. I was going to get my Steelers jersey on. And then I couldn't help it. I laughed like LOL style when I turned the TV on and the game was over. Like, I recorded it. So I had to go back and watch it. Until the 1 p.m. games came on.
I will say this. I think Mike Tomlin and the staff did a great job in this game in certain areas. The defensive adjustments were clear. The way they adjusted their running game, playing Darnell Washington a lot more, Gainwell playing really well for an injured Jalen Warren. But I will tell you, Tomlin again showed one of his Achilles heels, which is game management, butchering a couple of decisions in the fourth quarter that almost led to a game that they were ahead 24-6 in the fourth quarter, ending in a loss. And this ties into what we were just saying a minute ago. The result ended up okay. They won the game. That doesn't mean the decisions were right. And there were two
but we know this about Tomlin. You're saying it like
I know, but he's got
information.
He's got to learn because this is going to come up again in another close game.
Eric, he's been in the league for 20 years. He's never had a losing season. Like, you think, like, this is what I love about you. You think, like, Trump is going to change. Dude, Mike Tomlin is never going to change.
Tomlin doesn't always fuck these decisions up.
No, I'm not saying that he does.
But he does enough that he does more than he should.
Dude, it's like James Franklin at Penn State. And I'm sorry, by the way. But the least shocking result of the weekend was Penn State losing to Oregon. Like, I watched that game, And here's the thing: I talk to you all the time about how I don't love college football, but because I'm from Altoona, Pennsylvania, like you, I know you went there and I didn't go there. The greatest in-stadium experience I've ever had in my life was in 2004 when Penn State and Derek Williams beat Troy Smith and the Ohio State Buckeyes. I had a lot to drink that day. We started very early, but the atmosphere in that stadium is something that I have never felt in my life anywhere in the world. And I was just thinking of the people watching this Oregon Penn State game, the emotion that went into that. And Penn State playing so well for so long, for them to shit the bed in the end. I mean, I can't imagine the feeling of the people. So I want to ask you, did you go from like a high, like a heroin, crystal methamphetamine type high to just like passed out in the gutter after that game?
Well, because you got to remember they were getting their butts kicked for a good chunk of the game, or not getting
The
their butts kicked.
that's the emotion.
The comeback was
the
great.
comeback. The
Yeah,
stadium.
I was riding the wave of the comeback, but I didn't allow myself to get overconfident because I knew that
You knew Franklin would shit the bed. But that's what I'm saying. James Franklin and Mike Tomlin are what
I have to say, I knew Oregon had the better quarterback. And in overtime, that scares me.
Did you see the Drew Aller text messages?
I did. Can you let our listeners in on?
Well,
you don't have
Drew, a young lady texted Drew Aller. Apparently, she wanted to, she slid into his DMs, and Drew Aller, let's just say, was very direct about what he was looking for.
What he was looking for.
He wanted, oral sex, and she was like, "Wow, you're very direct." And then he asked her to take a picture of her butt hole. And then she didn't know how to do it, and Drew Aller told her how. That was the text message.
The timer. Now, how did that get out, though?
I don't know.
Did the girl release it, or was this a catfish thing? Was this like a legit?
No. I think it was a legit.
catfished?
No, I think a girl, the young lady, did post it because he was so direct.
Wow.
The only thing I thought the entire time was I actually really respect Drew Aller and what he's busy.
He's very, very.
He's got to go to school. He's got to go to class. Which,
it's like, I got a lot going on.
He has a lot going on, and he's like, I got practice. I got things to do.
Right.
Like, if you want to get down, let's get down. If not, next.
Right. Then you know what?
Tell
he
me
can do that.
You don't agree with me on this. There's a part of you that was like, I kind of respect it.
He was very efficient and to the point.
He was efficient.
I just wish he would have done it after he played better in a big game.
Right, exactly.
That is what bothers me.
I still like Drew Aller. I still think Penn State's going to make the playoff.
He's a good quarterback.
And I still think they're going to make a run.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're right there. We know that.
Their defense is incredible.
They'll be in the playoff, and
their defense is incredible.
But you talk about career records, and you talked about Tomlin. James Franklin now 4-21 against top 10 teams.
So sad.
Which in many of those games he himself had a top 10 team. So it wasn't like he was playing top 10 teams when Penn State was 500.
Right.
He was also in the top 10 and he's 4-21.
I just want to stay on Penn State for 1 second because I think it's important to note as much crap as people give James Franklin, Joe Paterno's record against top 10 and top 5 teams was not that much better. And
really?
I think Joe Paterno is 15-31 against top 5 teams.
Top 5, all right.
Top 5, not top 10. Top 5 teams.
All right,
but
so
he did win the national championship.
Twice, right?
And he had great glasses.
He did. We have a few minutes left, Brian. The Major League Baseball playoffs are underway. I might tune in a little bit here or there. Give me your World Series pick, and give me a storyline I should look for in the playoffs. Why should I care?
I like the Dodgers to win the World Series.
Out on a limb. I like it.
No, see, you say that, but I think if you knew anything about baseball, I would think that you would see their pitching is decimated.
Well, and they also did not get the bye. They're playing.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
but I think they do have the best team overall to make a run. This is not going to be shocking. I'd like to see the Yankees and Dodgers. And the reason I want to see the Yankees and Dodgers is because I genuinely think those are the two best teams in baseball. But that's not how baseball works.
No, that is not how the baseball playoffs work.
I mean,
in fact, the Yankees lost 3-1 to the Red Sox today. So that's what I mean.
Yankees and Red Sox. It's a 3-game series. I mean, you want to talk about just like a rolling of the dice,
right?
Of like who comes out. That's why I don't like this format. because you have the 3-game wild card.
Ah, that's rough. Yeah, I don't like the three.
I mean, it's better than the 1-game wild card they used to have. I mean, 1 game of baseball is seriously rolling dice.
Right. And even a best of three. But you know what? You're always going to have some variation with the short series. That's kind of the nature of the beast.
I mean, the Brewers are good. The Phillies are good. The story of this playoff, funny enough, is a team that didn't make the playoffs, which is the New York Mets.
Oh, what a collapse.
A $300 million payroll.
I know.
Missing the playoffs, signing Juan Soto to a $750 million contract. I mean, dude, that was an epic collapse. Not as epic as the Tigers collapse, but I'm saying this out loud and I realize that there are maybe 2 people listening that have any idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Tigers
I mean, but dude, there's nothing better than playoff baseball.
Yeah.
It's like playoff hockey.
The Guardians beat the Tigers to win the division. The Guardians were, I think, 10.5 games or 12.5 games out at the beginning of September.
It was hilarious.
One of the greatest comebacks in baseball
history. Are you going to watch the MLB playoffs for
real? You know what I will? I'll probably watch when you start the next round. When we get to the final 8 or I'll probably tune in a little bit. Especially the Dodgers. Since I'm out here in LA, if the Dodgers...
the Dodgers are so
Shohei
good.
Ohtani hit a home run to start the playoffs. Dodgers up 1-0 over the Reds. So, yeah, if the Dodgers advance...
Ohtani... Muncy, what a team they have.
Yeah, they're going for back-to-back. Any final thoughts, Brian?
I don't know. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. I got a little upset during the military thing. I don't know why I take it so personal.
Well, you were there. I mean, I think that's the reason.
I know, but I'm not there anymore.
Yeah, but it stays with you. You were a young man. It was a pivotal time of your life, and you served how many years? 6 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, almost 6.
6 years.
Stop loss. Hashtag stop loss.
That's a big chunk of time.
They kept me in against my will.
Right. Just when you think you're out, they pull
me back in. Yes, I'm not. I really did notice myself getting a little emotional during that segment because I think so many of the things that were said aren't applicable in actual life. And that's the entire point of politics. It's like the troops that it impacts and the troops that it actually is going to affect aren't going to be for 5-10 years from now. But I think having been there, I do know that I really believe that there are people that are going to be hurt in a very real way because of the policies that are put in place today. That's it.
All right. Well said. All right. Well, that'll do it. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out our show on YouTube on the Everybody Settle Down YouTube page. And, of course, the Take No Offense podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. For Brian Johnson, I'm Eric Messersmith. Thanks for being with us. We hope that you enjoyed the show. But if not, please take no offense.